Welcome back, everyone. Happy Thursday. We are back here with another interview from the Gathering Movement. And today I'm here with Abby Cockrell. We're going to be talking all about the dance industry, probably some yoga, maybe some bhakti. So, welcome, Abby. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So, if you're new to the Gathering Movement and really this interview series, the biggest intention for me was to connect thought leaders and change makers and way showers and pioneers across all different industries. Because I'm so in the healing spiritual world that I wanted to expand and remind everyone that we are all leaders of our own life. And the intention has been to interview some really incredible people who also believe in not only empowerment for themselves, but empowerment for others. So thank you, Abby. And I'm excited to talk to you today. We haven't had any professional dancers or people who are in the ballet industry on the show yet. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that background and how you ended up in this world.
Yeah. So I ended up in this world actually. I used to do gymnastics with my friend, and then she quit and started taking dance lessons. So I was like, okay, well, I might as well do that too. I don't love gymnastics. And then just kind of fell in love. And I think when I got my first pair of point shoes when I was 12, then it really felt like, oh, this is something that I want to do and make a career out of. I grew up in a really small town in Montana, and so usually you need to go away to school to make it in the professional field. So I went away to school in North Carolina at North Carolina School of the Arts when I was 15. Yeah, and then haven't really been home for more than a month at a time since. I was in North Carolina until I was 18, and then went to Seattle for a year to dance in the professional division with Pacific Northwest Ballet, and always really wanted to come to Europe. It just felt like that was, it was in my heart, and now I just see that it was so part of my path and part of a lot of past life work that I needed to accomplish. So got my first job in Romania when I was 19 and have been living over on this side of the world ever since. I danced at one company in a town called Sibiu for a year. Hi, dog. And then
He always shows up on the interviews, always.
I'm sure my cat will be here soon. And then worked at the Romanian National Ballet for a year, and then there was just a huge incident with the government there, and it was time to leave. So went to England for 4 years to dance with Northern Ballet, and then now I'm here in Poland dancing as a soloist with Opera Nova.
Wow. How did you know that ballet was part of your kind of calling?
I just loved it. And I think it's one of those jobs that you really have to decide it's part of your calling when you're so young.
Mm.
So you have to love it. It's a really tough industry. And I don't think it's something that you can put yourself through unless you really love it. But that's also part of why it needs to change, because we do put ourselves through too much that it's not quite healthy, but you have this love. Sometimes it's kind of like a toxic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You have ballet. But just being able, I find that hard sometimes to speak how I'm feeling, and actually being able to just move so much more helpful. And I find when I'm performing, then it's just like this big barrier lifts, and I can really connect with the audience, which just makes it so special. I think that's one of my favorite things about dancing, is actually performing and giving something to the audience.
That is so special. And I don't know how many ballets I've really ever seen. Maybe the Nutcracker around Christmas time. But I've always too been mesmerized by the ability to just move so gracefully and so beautifully and so gently. And it sounds like the perfect metaphor for life, to be able to move through things with ease and grace. So how has that, I'd like to talk about the highlights of, this industry for you, and then we can go into some of the changes that you really see for the industry.
Yeah. I mean, big highlights for me have just been a lot of performing opportunities, and I've been so blessed to, have the intention. I wanted to come to Europe, and then I was able to come to Europe, and certain choreographers early on in my career that I never thought I would get to dance their ballets, like William Forsythe. And performing one of his ballets, I just felt so powerful on stage. And I think especially because that ballet came at a time when I didn't really feel that powerful in myself. And then to just be able to have that be completely away and feel like such a badass, I was like, yeah, this is amazing. And you can just really step into a completely different character, a different persona, and leave your old stories behind. And sometimes you can bring them forward to amplify a performance. But it's just, it's really special. As well, just being able to connect with people on stage, connect with a partner, and just enjoy dancing together. And when you find a partner that you're working with, that you really feel that sense of trust, like, I know he's not going to drop me, and I know that whatever happens, we'll have fun, and we'll make it a good show no matter what. I think that's really cool too.
You said something interesting before about how you can almost like be this new persona when you're on stage. And I probably think about this for actors and actresses as well, or people who are in movies. They have the ability to leave this part of themselves behind. But then does there become a time when you're leaving it all behind and you're not allowing yourself to process all your shit, basically? Does that happen?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay. That's so interesting. So interesting. So our conversation is also today about evolving the dance industry and, hearing how you've been able to bring yoga and bhakti and some of these really beautiful things into your own life. So first, with the dance industry, what needs to change?
So much, so many. I think female dancers especially, but it's not only the women. And this is something that I've really learned about myself just in coming into this practice of bhakti and, working more with spirituality, is how much we hate ourselves and how much that's kind of pushed on us from such a young age. Because you spend your adolescence and the whole time when your body's developing looking in the mirror in hardly any clothes, just staring at yourself and constantly being compared to other people and being told that you're too soft or you need to lose weight, or even if you're not, having the teeniest, tiniest ones that are about to collapse be the ones that get cast well, and being afraid to take time off because you're injured, because then you think it will have an impact on your career. So just popping, I don't know, I think there were some days when I would take like 9 tablets of ibuprofen a day just to truck through for months, and then would only stop when it started impacting other parts of my body. But it was just to numb this pain, because you get it so in your head that you can't stop and you have to be perfect. And if you give yourself time to rest or do something that's good for your body, then it's going to impact your career. I think when I was younger, especially, I felt the most content for the years that I just didn't have my period. So I was like, this means I'm skinny enough. And you know what? It was reflected, unfortunately, in my casting. I was cast better when I was not well. And that's something that it needs to change. It needs to change in the companies, and it needs to change in the schools, because you can't change one and then have the other one be completely the opposite, because then I think that's the thing as well. Some of the schools are trying to change, but then these young girls and young boys get shoved into a company when they're 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really have a full sense of who you are at that point. You've been in a school environment, and then you get chucked into this rather cutthroat industry, and it's not the same. And so then you can slip into unhealthy patterns really easily, just out of this self-hatred that you've had for years and years. And it's really only been recent that I've said, oh, that's been the issue the whole time, that I really just hated myself. So I think just really being able to change the way that dancers view their bodies and view themselves, and actually are able to listen to their bodies when their bodies say, I need rest, to say that's okay for you to take that rest. And it's okay for you to feed your body. And you're going through puberty, your body is not going to look the same as it did a few years ago. So let it be, because you're dancing so much in the day. So whatever your body's doing, you need to feel that and understand that you are going to be healthy as long as you're listening to your body and respecting your body.
Ooh. Oh yeah, this is such a beautiful conversation, and I think it just reminds us all of the importance of just listening to our bodies. And I can't imagine growing up in this industry where you are looking at yourself in the mirror in a very tight outfit, standing in probably a line, being compared, and the skinniest are the best. That's created an entire conversation in your head. It created an entire narrative of what you need to do to be the best. We have a comment that says, I hear you, Abby. I was a professional figure skater, and it was very much the same way. And thank you for bringing this to light.
My pleasure.
And I find it so interesting that your work also, beyond just dance, is yoga, which is inviting people to connect with their bodies and to remember. So I'd love to hear that transition, not even transition, but how you found yoga as well, and how that's really impacted your life and your practice.
Yeah. So I really found yoga when I was about 15 probably, but I found it because I was thinking, I want an intense physical practice that I can use to keep me in shape when I'm not dancing. And I was like, I'm going to go to the hot Vinyasa classes and the Bikram classes. That'll really keep me in shape.
Me too.
And that was my whole goal with yoga initially. And then it kind of started to release things. And you have I'm sure everyone cries in pigeon pose at some point. And I was like, what is this? What is this magic? What's happening? And then, I only really practiced while I was in the States, because in Romania, for a while, yoga was considered like a cult there. So there were not any yoga studios. So then I just didn't practice for a while, and really my mental health went down the pooper. And some other issues came up as well in the dance industry that need to change, because we see these beautiful women on stage. So I think people are under the illusion that yes, it is a feminine art form, but it's also very misogynistic. And things like sexual abuse and sexual assault are just kind of like, fine. And So I wasn't practicing when I was in Romania, and then coming to England kind of started again, and then really decided that it was time for me to get help from sexual assault that happened with a colleague, because that was something that had haunted me for too many years. And that's when yoga started. I have my accent's a bit funny. I've not been living in America for long enough, so it does what it wants. But yeah, that's when the yoga practice really started to be more about understanding myself and coming back home and loving myself and realizing that it's really my job to help these sisters, and especially dancing sisters who just don't speak up when something like that happens. But then it ties back into this, what's ingrained from us at a young age, that we hate ourselves. So of course, if you don't love yourself, you're not going to speak up when something happens with a colleague, when you're raped by one of your colleagues, when another issue comes up. If you hate yourself, you're not going to say anything. You just let it slide and carry on with your job, because that's what we have to do as ballerinas. Take some more ibuprofen, cry when you're home.
Right.
Deal with it.
You have a persona. You can't allow anything to negate that. And I think what we're also getting at here is, which you believe is, like, we need to change this at the root. You said in the schools where this is first being taught, we need to teach self-love and compassion for ourselves and eating nourishing foods and taking a day off. And then that goes and translates to these larger companies. And I think it's beautiful that you have this deeper understanding that this is not right. It's not sustainable.
No, it's really not. And one of the things that I love about my company here is that we're allowed to take a break. If we're on the first 3 days of our period, we don't have to come in for extra training. And I'm like, this is revolutionary, but it should be like that everywhere.
Yes.
Because if girls are taught from a young age, when you're in school, you can take a pause and give your body rest on the first 3 days of your cycle. Imagine the impact that would have on the rest.
Wow. That's huge.
Huge.
That's huge. Ooh, we have a lot of beautiful comments coming in just about and saying thank you to you for speaking up for these things. And we have Janie saying, I used to have to wear a black sports bra and black spandex shorts along with the rest of my team. And I remember being 13 and judging myself for my love handles and feeling ashamed when I wasn't placed in the front lines of our routines. This work goes so deep. And I think anyone listening to this conversation today has probably felt this. No matter if you're a man, a woman, if anything in your life, we have felt judged for our appearance.
Yeah.
So what do we do, Abby? How do we bring ourselves home to ourselves?
For me, it really was coming into this practice of yoga and practice of bhakti. And I know that's not the path for everyone, but I think being able to learn to love yourself again, maybe that's mirror work. And when I first heard about mirror work, I was like, oh God, I'm not going to do this. But it really has been so helpful, and just actually asking my body, what do I need? And what my body needs is every day to tell myself that I love myself and to let myself just move in the morning however I want to and not let it be constricted. But everyone's going to need something different. So just to allow yourself to tune in and ask what you need. And these industries like the dance industry or,
modeling,
acting, whatever, actually changing from the top so that it can trickle down into the roots. because I think if you try and change the foundation, but you don't try and change the rest of the building, then you have a super solid foundation, but then when people try to go up the stairs, they're just going to fall.
Mm.
So the whole thing needs to evolve. The top needs to change so that the lights on the top are shining so brightly that it makes everything else change. So I think dance companies need to change. We need to have the dancers in our company feel like they're empowered, and have more companies besides, this one that I'm working with, have women be able to rest on their period, and have women in companies feel like they can speak up when there is an issue and there's not going to be some payout, or they're afraid to rock the boat. Have dancers that will come forward, and it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
God, I was so scared to say but if we don't, then nothing's going to ever change, and it has to change from the top before, so that there's something to look up to. And then we can work on the foundation.
So I'm so inspired by this conversation. I would love to hear like your biggest dreams with this. Are you on the front lines, holding signs up? What is your role in this shift of evolving the dance industry?
So I've started working with another sister who has an Instagram page who's trying to make some changes, and I've started a little Facebook group to just have sister circles where women in this community can just speak their experiences and be heard. And then we can work together to learn to love ourselves again, and just have sisters feel like they're really heard. Because I think most of us in this industry can relate to self-hatred. But if you can't actually identify that's what the issue is, then, you can't move forward.
I think that's so beautiful. And are you bringing in the Bhakti Yoga to these circles as well?
A little bit with singing. It's out there for a lot of dancers, so I can't get too Bhakti, but
actually, can you share what Bhakti is? Because there might be some people listening that don't even know what Bhakti Yoga is.
Yes. So Bhakti is the practice of devotion and this connection to the divine, traditionally to God, but for me, I feel like it's the connection to whatever source of the divine is resonating with you, whatever you want to call it. Because for me, it's all the same. So it's all love and this connection to a higher source, and honoring that, and just chanting from the heart, being in service. On
my journey, chanting mantra has been so transformational, and I see this for a lot of women and men who have felt like they don't have a voice. There's something so powerful about singing, and this is why cultures have sang or chanted or used sound for millennia. This is not new, but it's new to us because we felt like we need to be good to be a singer, right? Like people don't dance because they feel like they need to be a ballerina to dance. We have a question that says, where can we find those pages, or I guess the groups?
Yeah, so it's a private Facebook group I have. I'll send you the link, and then can post that, and I'll put it on my Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. And what is next for you? What are some of your next steps in life?
So next, I really want to help that grow and feel like I'm in a space where I can speak more and really make a difference. It feels like that's my dharma here. That's why I'm in this job, because I need to help make the change. I would love to be in a company where I can maybe go and choreograph and then bring these little bits to other companies. It's on such a global scale, so I need to be able to get around the globe, but then to also call in other sisters from around the world. So hopefully as these communities grow, I can do that as well.
So beautiful. I have chills. What are your final words of wisdom to anyone that's here listening today?
Ask your body and your soul what they need and what they're trying to tell you, because they're so wise. And I think we try not to listen to them. We try to mask their messages. We're like, no, you can be quiet now. Let me carry on doing what I'm doing. But they will tell you what you need, whether that's self-love, whether that's a rest, whether that's whatever, whether that's to keep pushing. Because sometimes we do need to push. But your body and your soul will tell you. So just actually take the time each day to listen to that.
Thank you. Now, where can people find you? Where can they reach out to you if they're that sister that wants to change this world with you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's Abby Cockrell Yoga, and I would be so honored if you would reach out to me, and we can work together and help change the world.
Thank you so much, Abby.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, today for listening to this just so deeply empowering conversation. And I, like Abby, am on this global mission to give everyone a voice and to remind us all of our power. So my goal for 2021 is to do 100 of these interviews. I want to interview change makers, pioneers, CEOs, bold leaders across all industries, because we all are here to make a difference. So if you know someone who would be perfect for my interview series, please tag them so that we can bring these messages out to the world. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you, Abby.
Thank you.